Hi, I'm Aisha and this is Unboxed. You're all probably wondering why I'm actually going to sit down and I've got this whole setup going on with the microphone and the whole shebang and whatnot. But we're going to delve into it. We're going to understand why I decided, where I come from, who I am as a person first. Most of you probably all know me as Aisha the hockey player, but I'm actually just Aisha, as said. So I think it's important that we actually understand who we and people are before we actually judge them or see them for what their job role is. So this is why we are starting with me, episode 1, Unboxed. Yeah, of course, if I'm going to do a podcast, I guess I have to start with myself and be honest first. But sure, look, we're going to delve into it and see. But a lot of my guests, I plan on asking who they were when they were younger. So I guess I have to ask myself, who was I? A lot of times I would say I was probably the crazy, hyper, non-stop, really energetic, sporty kid, could chat the back leg off a donkey, could run until I needed to pretty much die if needed to. Bit dark already, but sure look. So yeah, I was that kid. The one in your class that would just always talk. Sometimes people would join me and talk, sometimes I'd be talking by myself, but a lot of times I would get the blame for talking, which wasn't always me. Sometimes the adults would definitely find me annoying. Other people my age, I don't know, they probably also find me annoying, but sure look, I was who I was. But I was also quite a caring kid. I valued those around me, I valued my friends. I was always worried about how people were doing. If someone wasn't doing something they were meant to, I'd always check in on them. And that, yeah, I think that's always been a part of who I am. I think I definitely get that from my ma. There's definitely times I was, no, not definitely. I am very competitive and very stubborn and I have to do things and I want to prove people wrong. Like, for example, when I was younger, as mentioned, I was very chatty, but my primary school teacher, I think I was in P7 or something. And my teacher was like, do you ever just stop talking? And I was like, fine, I'll just stop talking. So literally, I think it was 2.5, 3 days, didn't say a word. We're coming to school every single day, wouldn't say one word, wrote everything on a piece of paper and refused to speak. He would ask me questions in class. And I would refuse. To the point, because he challenged me in a way to be like, do you ever stop talking or shut up? And I was like, fine then, I'll prove you wrong. I can shut up. So I am definitely stubborn. And I don't like to be proved wrong. But I guess it also helps with being competitive. So I did every sport when I was younger, everything. You name it, I tried it. Racket sports were not for me. Tried tennis, lost quite a few tennis balls out of the courts. I can remember the teacher advising me not to come back to tennis class. Jiu-jitsu, karate, I swam for a bit, did gymnastics, Irish dancing obviously because, live, laugh, love, the Irish life. Yeah, football, athletics, honestly, cricket. I remember I joined our school cricket team with the boys. Obviously, I was the only girl because what else would I do? I wanted to prove everyone wrong. And didn't have a clue about cricket. So they put a bat in my hand. I think the third time I went, we had a cricket match. And I was bottom of the list. The lads were just nah, you'll be fine. We just need you for the numbers, put you bottom of the list. And didn't I score the first 6 of the year? Absolutely, I did. So kind of a big FU to all the boys, which I loved because, I don't know, I just love proving them wrong. I would play football with them at lunchtimes. Me in my school skirt, my blazer, my tie, my shoes and everything. I'd be out playing football with the boys. I'd take the blazer off if it got a bit warm. But I'd be out playing. And I had to prove them wrong. Had to. So I was definitely energetic. It's an easy word to say it. My mum would always say, I'm not allowed sweets with E numbers. So definitely for those who don't know what an E number is, it's just, if you look on the back of especially Skittles or Starburst or whatever, they all taste a bit funny now compared to when I was younger because they just took out all, it was full of sugars, full of sugars. So yeah, that was a big problem that probably contributed to me and all my energy and a bit craziness. But sure, look, I made things interesting. Well, that's what I tell myself anyway, and I tell everyone else that. So that was who I think I was. But then when I was younger, mine and my siblings' lives took a bit of turn that we didn't really plan for or want. So I have 3 other siblings, lived in a house with my mum in Larne, Go on, Lauren. And we lived, our house the location was actually really cool. So we lived on top of this cliff. You could look down, see the sea, and then you see Scotland. And it was unreal. I remember days where I would just like climb down this cliff. All the kids in the neighborhood, we'd all just hang out, play games. Like, just play this game called Hunt. And it's just like a big game of block in, block out, or you'd be like in 2 teams, or you could just play it. We had one lamppost where someone would count it, and then you just hide around the whole estate. And it was fun and just random. Like, it was just kids. And so, everyone in the area was so chill. So that's where I grew up until I was 14. But unfortunately, when I was, I think 7, so I'm in P6 at the time, my mom got sick with breast cancer. So that, obviously I was young, like I had no idea what was going on. I remember going into school one day and I told my teacher that, my mom's sick, she's in hospital, but it's okay. I literally walked back down and sat down. I can imagine that she was probably like, what on earth has this child told me? But anyway, so we didn't know anything different. So we were told mum was sick, but she's getting better. And obviously at that age, you don't really think too much difference of it. You just go with it, and you trust the adults and what they told you. So just pottering along with life, being my mad, outgoing kid, going to all my sports every day. And then, obviously as you get older, you kind of understand the extent that there'd be days where mum couldn't get out of the bed, or when I remember when she started losing her hair, then she got wigs for whenever she went out. I put it on, so they were like kind of blondish, like my hair. And I'd steal it all the time and put them on and just, I don't know, just dress up. Like, I'd take her heels and everything, go toddling around the house, pretend to be my ma. So as obviously we realise the extent of how sick she is, it's not great, because you feel like you're missing out in life. But for us, that was also our normal. So the 4 of us would just, we really helped to look after each other. Like, I remember sometimes where I'd be up to 1, 2 in the morning just cleaning the kitchen, because in my head I thought, okay, this will help my mom. It means then she won't have to do it, so she can get up and take us to school the next day. Or I'd make sandwiches for us for lunches, so then again, she didn't have to worry about it. She could still just stay in bed a bit longer, or whatever it was. There was a lot of times where that was just what we did. We helped each other in our own way. Like, I remember times like me and my older brother would beat the shit out of each other, and then there was times where mum would make us like sit on the sofa, and we weren't allowed to move until we spoke to each other. Sometimes that could be a bit of a while. Sometimes she would lose the plot and be like, go to your rooms. Probably had that a few more times than many. Or or get the wooden spoon, or the bamboo stick, or the plimsoll. This is definitely for my older folk who are listening, who will absolutely understand this. All these younger ones will have no idea what on earth I'm talking about. But that's how you were raised back then, and that's just, we definitely pushed things to the limit. But for me, I continued my sports that whole time, and I think I did that for many different reasons. One, it was my kind of outlet, also because I was the crazy hyper kid, and I really enjoyed it. Like, I really enjoyed doing all the sports because I was so competitive. But I think a big aspect of that was because I wanted to feel normal in a way. I wanted to be able to say, I do all this stuff that other kids do. There'd be times where, I decided to go to the youth club. Like, mum would be really, really sick at home, and like my sister would be out working. My 2 brothers, who knows what they do. But I wanted to go to the youth club because I wanted to just be around people my age, like go and have fun and whatever. But it was also a single parent household with mum wasn't working because she was sick, and there's 4 kids to look after, so there was also not much income. But I remember I hate it now. I hate that I say it, but I used to steal a pound coin or 2 out of mum's purse because I didn't want to go to the youth club with no money. Because I wanted sweets like everyone else. I wanted to get drinks like everyone else. Sometimes you had to pay your way in, depending on which one you went to, because there was that, I think at such a young age, that feeling that I just wanted to be welcomed in and accepted by them and seen as a normal kid, not the kid with mum with cancer or the kid whose mum is dying. So that's why for me, sports was a huge outlet. It was the ability to keep doing and keep connecting with kids around me. Also in school, I can easily say I'm not the most academic, and that is okay because it's not for everyone. There's times where like I go to class, like I did enjoy it when I look back, especially my older years at school. I find it really good to have that structure. Of course, you're kind of forced into it, so it is a structure that you will have. But also, I found the variety at school and the challenges and the ability to just try different things. I think that was really, really important. By the end, I ended up doing really weird subjects for my like GCSEs and A levels. So I did, obviously, PE was like top choice. You have your usual subjects that you have to do, so your math, English, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So PE was in there. I played the flute for the longest time. I did. I was told I had a big blow in primary 4 when I tried out for the first time, and then it stuck with me. I did dancing and stuff as well, so music was always in and around. It was always creative. And then I did art as well, which is, that creative side was just in me. I was always in the kitchen with mum when I was younger. My granddad used to sing at these shows. So that's actually how I got into Irish dancing. I went, or I would see these tapes of him singing, and he had concerts that he would go to. And then in between, there would always be people singing, dancing, doing different things while his choir, I'm assuming, choir had a pause. And then there was these girls jumping about. So I obviously, me being me as the kid, would sit and jump about with them and hope that, yeah, I was also good. So mum was just like, yep, get out the door. You're definitely good for this. So that's why, yeah, there's that consistency of sport throughout my life, and definitely throughout secondary school. I was maybe second year in school. I realized I was quite good at sports. Again, because it was my outlet. I went to all these competitions and all these different sports. So athletics was a big one. Hockey, obviously, that was whenever it really started kind of taking off for me. But as my sports were starting to go really well, my mum wasn't doing so well. So I remember I got pulled into, or I went for the trial with the Ulster, for the Ulster hockey stuff. So that's like the region at home. And I ended up pulling out because mum was really sick. She couldn't drive. I had no way of getting to or from training. I couldn't afford it. So I was like, okay, well, then I give up because I'm going to stay at home and help mum. Thankfully, I had very, very important people around me. There's one girl still to this day who, without her and her family, I simply would not be sitting here having played hockey. The end. Like, I would not have done all the things I've done. And it's a girl I went to school with, Ruth McGuire, and her and her family were just, they were simply amazing. Ruth was also really into the hockey, and they just took me everywhere. Honestly, they would pick me up, they'd set me off, they'd make sure that I had a lift to the hockey, from the hockey, everything. Took me home from school sometimes. I am beyond grateful for them, and I don't think it's, I don't even know if I've said it to them, because it's, even now sitting here, I find it hard to really just vocalize how important she was and how important her family was, because they also give me that space and that separation to kind of step away from what was bad at home, or it was my normal, but I didn't know how bad it was or how not normal it was. I'm not saying it was bad by any means, but it was just, it was what I knew. So it was my normal. And then I also had a teacher, Emma Knox then. She was a PE teacher at school. And again, she was the same. So I remember I would always try and find her and connect with her. And I think, hockey was a big one. She was a young PE teacher, super chill, played hockey, really athletic. Like, I just thought she was really cool. So I would always just try and find and connect with her. But then, so I stepped back from the hockey. I think that was in June. That was in June 20 years. It's a long time ago now. 2014. My mathing's off. No, 2010. June 2010. So I would have been 14, and in the September, my mum passed away. So she was sick for quite a long time. And my world was thrown into chaos. It was already mad and not my normal before that, but then it really was flipped upside down. But you just had to get on with it. And so it's me and my 3 siblings. So we still lived in the family home. And my dad then moved in, but I didn't have a good relationship with him. So I then went to live with my aunt and uncle. And bless them, like, they get me a teenager who's already batshit crazy, full of energy, really independent from such a young age, because you had to look after yourself. We had to get food on the table, we had to survive, we had to get to school. So they get me. So I know it's a handful, But yeah, at that time, it just didn't work out with my aunt and uncle. So by that point, my brother's already in care. My sister was an adult, so she was left to her own devices and handled it like an absolute trooper. I don't know how she's done it still to this day. Like, it's amazing, like, how she managed. But then after 9 months with my aunt and uncle, I was then also put in foster care. And at the time, yeah, it was, as an individual, as a 15-year-old, you're just like, I'm not wanted by anyone. I'm a failure. I've ruined these lives. I've ruined the life of my aunt and uncle. Like, I genuinely thought that not that I was the worst kid in the world, because I didn't believe it in a way, but in a way I did. I thought that this isn't how I seen my teens going. I see all my friends going out and having fun and having all the support and security from their parents, or if they were stuck, they could call their parents or anything. And I never had that. And it's not out of choice. Mum could not, and then mum wasn't there. So to have that loss still is hard. I'd sacrifice everything I have right now, obviously, to have my mum back, but that's just not realistic. So that's where I believe that my mum would have, she was always, I think people that know her would know, is this like outgoing, charismatic, energetic person trying to see the positives in things. So I think that's definitely a huge thing I get from her. So then whenever I went into care, it was almost this like taboo, where most of the time when you hear about kids in care, it's they're a problem child. They've done it to themselves. They're going to be a bad influence in society. They're not going to go anywhere. They'll be lucky to finish high school. Like, these are all the stories I would hear and see. I heard from teachers, people around me, everyone. And it was always a negative connotation put on kids in care. And so whenever I would go and meet people or be with my friends or whatever, I would never say I'm in foster care. I would say I live with a family. The family I was with, I still look back on to this day, were amazing. Genuinely amazing. Really, they didn't know what they were getting with me. They knew a little bit my story about how mum was sick. I played a bit of hockey, but they didn't know to what extent. They didn't understand or realise, or they weren't even told that I was travelling up and down to Dublin every other week. I was going to tournaments, I was going to competitions, I was selected, I think, athletics. I think I went to UK school games, so that was in Wales. I had to go to training for that in Antrim. They had no idea on the amount of extracurricular or other things I did outside. And that is no fault on them, because I also understand the social services have this kid. She can't be placed with her two brothers. Her sister's too old, or her sister's not in the system. She can't look after me. So they were just trying to get me a placement. And I was so fortunate also to get a placement pretty much in my hometown. I could have been placed anywhere in Northern Ireland that would have had a facility or had a room or somewhere for me. But the family genuinely they had two daughters, and they genuinely treated me like, genuinely like one of their own. But I remember going up to their house. I had literally, I think, 2 or 3 bin bags of stuff, a backpack, and that was it. They brought me in, so I think I met them maybe once beforehand. The social worker brought me out, we had tea, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it was out in the country as well. So I was used to being in the town. I wouldn't say the city, in the town. The town is fine size, but it's not, it's fine. Let's just say a bus can get you anywhere in about 6 minutes. And then so I went out to the country and I was like, Jesus, it smells funky out here now, doesn't it? So I was like, right, we're going to have to get used to this. Was then told I had to walk down to get the bus to school every morning. It was like a 15-20 minute walk. Real heel, my gosh, rain, hail, sun. I was walking down to that bus. So I remember times like I'd be walking with like me folders on my head. I'd obviously just straighten my hair because, people at times did that for school. And then you ended up just getting on with it, and just, that was your normal life then. That was the new normal. But still to this day, the family really, they just treated me like their own daughter. Both of them were quite a bit older than me, but they also give me this, so they give me the space that I needed to kind of settle in, get my own room. They didn't force me to do anything. They didn't force me to come up and sit and watch TV. They didn't force me to go outside. They gave me the space. And I think that was huge, because it's a huge adjustment for a 15-year-old, for any kid to go into care. But to be 15, having lost a parent, separated from your siblings, you're thrown into this new world in the country. Funky smell. So that was a tough one. And that was also going through my GCSEs, which how I passed them, I have no idea. A star, 2 A's, 1 C, 1 B, 4 C's, and a D. Did all right, given everything. So that was fine. Got me back in to do my A levels in school, but obviously, like, the only reason I was going back to school was for hockey. The end. Had no interest in school, had no interest in what I was going to do. I always said I was going to play hockey professional. That was it, because that was all I knew of myself, and that's all that people knew of me. I got invited, obviously, to underage. So at this point, I'm like 17. I've played under 16 for Ulster, under 16 for Ireland. Was moving up in the age groups, and doing all my other sports. But then obviously I had to pick one, and I was like, right, okay, furthest in hockey, let's just, give it a wing and see how we go with it. With that, I then started hearing about all these people going out to America. I was like, oh, well, Jesus, now that could be some crack, like going out there. So I looked into it, and then I found this scholarship company. Applied, again, social services paid for everything for me. So they pay, like, I think because they seen the benefit in my hockey and what it was bringing me. I remember we had like a 6 a.m. flight or 6 or 7 a.m. flight. Me and my social worker went over to Glasgow in Scotland, had like a trial hockey day to see if I was any use, and thankfully I was. They seen that I could stop a ball, I could get in the way. I think we went and had some sort of like chicken or something, chicken nuggets, and then flew home, and that was that. And then I think maybe a week or so later, I heard from them, yeah, we want to bring you on, we'll try and help you out to America, blah, blah, blah. So back in school, continuing on, trying to study for my SATs because A levels didn't transfer. And so, like I've said, I am not the most academic. Sometimes I'd be sitting in class before I had to hand in like my homework, and I'd be copying it from the person beside me, literally to hand it in, because zero interest, because I'd obviously training the night before. But with that, and with wanting to go to America, I had to do my SATs. Little did I know how hell they were going to be. Hell. I remember getting the textbook, and it was like yay thick. And for those who are just listening, I would say like a good hand length thick. They are full of everything. It was like math, as we say back home, math to everywhere else in the world, English writing, and other stuff. And I had no clue what was going on. Hadn't a clue, not a notion. Anyways, that was fine. I think the first time I went and did it, it was in Enniskillen, and just one, I was like, screw this, go on, like, we'll just give it a crack and then see, because I heard that most people didn't pass it in their first time anyway, so I was like, well, if most people don't, I'm definitely not, So that was that. Obviously, the first time I failed it, and yeah, obviously I had to redo it because, America was really on the cards now at this point. I had a few offers from universities, was chatting to a few coaches and stuff from out there. I remember one offered me a laptop if I would go and play for them, but I think they played on like 4G turf. I was like, I'm okay. But all I could think about was just getting out to America. But I knew I obviously had to do these SATs to get there, and had to get a decent score in them. So did them again. Thankfully went much better. I improved my numbers. I can't even remember what it was. It was that long ago. So I improved my numbers and got an offer I got a few offers in, and then I got an offer from the University of Michigan. And so I was like, right, okay. They offered me a trip over. So I was like, right, me and my sister went over to Michigan, literally flew in, I think 4 days, flew in, landed in the afternoon or something, got picked up, taken to the hotel. We went out and explored a bit. Tamara was wrecked. So she went back, had a nap. Then we were like on campus officially for 48 hours. So that's just like going, seeing the school, seeing the facilities. I think we went to an American football game in the big house. And so that was just crazy. Like crazy. It's like top 5 in the world. It's like 110,000, like insane. And so like I'm like this little, I won't say ginger because I dyed my hair brown and then it was slightly coming out. So there was a tinge of red kid, freckly, white ass, down walking along the pitch. And I was just like, this is insane. Whenever you like see those like American movies and it's like full cheerleaders, band, huge football players, everything. That was the American dream. Like that was it. That is what you see in movies, and that is what I experienced whenever I was there. That night I remember we went to like a house party. It was like a frat party. And obviously coming from Ireland, where the legal drinking age is 18, legal is slightly younger. I did have an apprenticeship at a pub, side note. But obviously I might have dabbled in a little bit by then already. So we went to this party and like everyone was hammered. I was like, oh my God, yeah, lit, I'm in, here for it. But then, yeah, we had to leave because a few of the younger ones couldn't handle it. So that was fine, went back. The next day, we had another stuff on campus, but yeah, we were all obviously wrecked because a few of us were out the night before. And then we watched a hockey game, and it was actually, so University of Michigan was playing Louisville. And then there was another school there, I remember that. So we were sitting there watching, and there was a few other girls on this visit with me. And I remember there's this girl, Annie. And long story short, Annie and I ended up going to Louisville together. So the school, which was playing Michigan at the time, so we were looking into both. So I came home from that visit, emailed them, was like, yes, I love it. We had a verbal agreement, and for them, that's a big deal, apparently. So I had a verbal agreement with the university, or by the coaches there, that I was going to go if all going well, whatever. And so I came home. A couple of weeks later, the national team gets in contact, and I'm like, okay, sick. But it's funny because how they get in contact. So they don't even, there's a tournament in January, and so that's when I got my first cap, the day after my 18th birthday. And that the PE teacher I mentioned earlier, Emma, she told me this later on, but it was like the head coach at the time, Darren Smith, he contacted my principal to see if it was okay me missing school for a few days to go on this like training camp to Spain. And obviously the principal was like, no, education first, blah blah blah. She's not allowed to go. I didn't know anything about this. So my PE teacher, I think it was something like, he said to him, if you don't let her go, she'll make your life hell. And I'm glad she did, because she knew me very well to say that. Because if I had found out that had happened and I wasn't allowed to go, it would have absolutely caused chaos to the man. Thankfully, I was allowed to go, but I had to be up studying. So the day after my 18th birthday, I get my first cap, and I remember it clear as day. I'm sitting in the change room. I have Katie Mullen on one side, I have Kate Dillon on the other side. Two absolute nut jobs. Just trying to keep me calm, I think, because yeah, just the whole trip was crazy. Like, there was 4 young kids we were pulled in, and just, I think, there to get experience, but I was the only one that got capped. But I think there's maybe some politics behind that. So I went on at half time. So Emma Gray played the first half. Literally an idol of mine. Like, as soon as I got into the goalkeeping, I was like, okay, who's the goalkeeper of Ireland? Blah, blah, blah. I remember I used to like tweet her being like, oh, like, you should get green gear. You're from Ireland. Blah, blah, blah. Like, typical die-hard hockey fan stuff. And so we were 2-1 up. We lost 3-2. So I was like, great, that's great first cap. I remember Shirley McKay screaming in front of me, being like, hey, you should talk to me. I was like, yes, Shirley, yes. But how that time changed very quickly, that I got very comfortable screaming to Shirley. So that was the story in the middle. Yeah, I told then the America stuff or the Michigan coaches that I got pulled into national team, blah, blah, blah. But like, I'm still committed. I still want to go. I want to get my education. I want to be there with Michigan. But then I think they were, I don't know. I don't know what they were. All I know is that 4 to 6 weeks later, I got an email from the head coach being like, hey, thanks for your time, but we've decided to go with someone else. So again, don't know why, but now I say it's a complete blessing. But at the time, I was like, hate this, never going to go to America, hate the place, hate everything about it, blah, blah, blah. Again, stubborn. So finished my A-levels, I was like, oh, I'll just do this, I'll take a gap year. Well, no, actually, I thought I wanted to go to UCD in Dublin. I had a few teammates who were trying to convince me to come down and play at UCD. Not going to mention there's Anna, Chloe, and Nikki. Sat me down in that trip on January, and we're like, what do you want to do for university? You could come, you can be based in Dublin, you can get in to study whatever, and then your second year transfer. And I, as mentioned, not the most academic, but had just this focus on hockey, playing the national team. Like, that was my dream. And so I was looking into studying in Dublin. The only course I got in to do was sports turf, landscape sports turf, and horticulture management. I was like, yeah, fine, okay. Like, I like sports turf. Flowers are okay. So then, yeah, I think it was the 3rd round of offers. So I got my offer when I was on my 6th year holiday in Malia with my friends. Obviously, you know what happens in Malia. It's a bit wild. Any of those party islands are just buck daft. So that's fine. I'm like, no, I couldn't afford to go, and live in Dublin. So I got in I got an Ad Astra scholarship, so to help go and study there and get me in and whatnot, and there's different levels of support with it, but I couldn't afford it. I had to pay the deposit for my accommodation. No way on earth. I might as well have sold me fit. Couldn't do it. I had no zero savings. Like when I say zero, like I was living off whatever pocket money or coaching money or whatever I got. I had nothing to my name. So then to go in and have to pay thousands off the bat to just have accommodation, I was like, I can't do this. So I took a gap year. I was also like, I just have no interest in getting in thousands of pounds or euro of debt if I went to England, Scotland, Wales, or if I stayed in Ireland. It just, I don't know, the concept of that just didn't sit right with me. And also because a lot of times it's, well, unless you want to study like medicine or like become a lawyer or something, then a lot of the times I always say it's who you know, not what you know. And then you kind of learn it along the way. And I'm definitely sitting here as a 28-year-old. It's who you know, not what you know, because what you know is like 10% and you just gotta figure it out. So I put America back on the cards. So I was like, I remember talking to the head coach, and I was like, Darren, I need to open this door again. I need to see if it's something that I could be interested in, just the possibilities with it. Like, I will regret it if I don't, or even if I don't attempt to look into it. I can always say, no, I'm not going or whatnot. Like, they physically couldn't make me get on a plane. So if they couldn't physically make me do that, then for me, that door was always open. Boy, am I glad I did. Ultimately, agreed to go to Michigan, or psych, agreed to go to Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky. I had no idea what Kentucky was like. Zero. None. Apart from KFC on a Sunday morning after being hungover it was more mid-afternoon. But I had zero idea. So I was told by some people that were out there, there's McDonald's beside the pitch. Check. I'm already in for that. Some chicken nuggets is lovely. The American life, obviously, I already seen it and experienced it whenever I was up visiting Michigan. So I'm flying out there. Flew off the plane. I was like, yeah, I'm free. I'm an adult now. I can do whatever I want. I have so much independence. And I'm flying out there, still in the care system. I'm so grateful for them because they legit funded me. I'm sure I'm probably the most expensive kid they've ever had. They funded me to go study and live in America. So they pay for my flights, give me money each month to just go be a human and get a life. Yes, I knew the hockey over there probably wasn't the best level compared to if I had stayed in Europe. But I needed to get out of Ireland. I needed to create my own story, my own space. Because everything was always Aisha the hockey kid, Aisha the kid in care, Aisha with the cancer mum. Like that generally is what I felt. And so that's, for me, going to America was huge in that sense where I was, what I thought at the time, picking up my life or trying to figure out who I was or what I wanted to do. A bit more than that. But I ended up, just experiencing so many ups, so many downs. Physically, it was hell. I'm not a runner. Just zero from running. But I learned a lot of elements about myself, and I've met some of the absolute best people along the way. Like, honestly, I genuinely to this day, still some of my, really, really close friends from all over the world. I've an Australian friend, Bethany, living in Dublin. I've Spanish Maria. She is currently in Belgium. Obviously, the girls that were in America. Like, there's so many girls that have just added so much to my life. You're genuinely, honestly, some of the absolute best people ever. I can remember at the end of my first year, I wanted to come home. So I had a few offers to play abroad in Europe. So in Belgium. I was like, oh my gosh, professional contract. This is crazy. Whoa, like sick. I have to do this. Like I was over the running the spring semester in America because hockey is a fall sport. So in the spring you run. As said, I'm not a runner. I'm fast. Once, maybe twice at a real push on my best days. But I remember being made run mile plus mile plus mile plus mile. And no, there is no mile plus miles or plus miles plus miles. So I was like, I'm not about this. Really hating it. Was really struggling with just a lot of different things. Wasn't enjoying my subjects as much. And so I stayed for the Kentucky Derby. So for those that don't know what the Kentucky Derby is the biggest horse race event in the world. And it was on the edge of our campus. So I was getting ready to leave. Two of the senior came and asked me, just stay for the Kentucky Derby, experience this, and then see after that if you want to stay or not. So yeah, stay for the Kentucky Derby, and 4 years later, I graduated with a piece of paper. And that is enough to know about that. But no, America for me, it was hard. There was times where I really questioned myself, why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? I also really struggled with connecting with people. I think that is something I still to this day struggle with. I know there's girls who, like, their door would always be open for me to go, but I would find it hard to go and to just go. And even if it's literally to sit and hang out or have dinner or whatever, it's something I find really, really hard. I don't know why. Still don't know why. We're working on it. But it is what it is. And it's just, yeah. I think a lot of it is something that I needed to experience the hardship of to learn to manage or work through. To be like, yes, I like this. No, I don't like this. And especially about myself. And a lot of that did happen in America. And to anyone that ever asked me, I'm always like, go. Go, experience it. You can always come home. Always. But if you sit with regret at some point, or with anything in your life, there's no, that's hard. That's just a hard pit that just sits and is nagging away at you, knowing that I could have done this, but I didn't take a chance. Or I could have experienced this, but there's always going to be a but with everything. There's always a choice with everything, but just take the leap. And I'm so glad I did, and I'm so glad I stayed, because that is a really, really important part of my life, where I actually start to, one, understand what I went through when I was younger wasn't normal. It was something that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy, to lose a parent, lose your siblings, and just feel so alone. But being in America taught me that it's okay to be alone, and you have to work hard at those connections with people around you. And still to this day, it's helped me, for sure. Like, at least I know how to, like, cook and clean and stuff. Like, I remember going over there, bless my roommate Taylor, love her to death. I think I cooked a lot for us, but that's okay. Totally fine. So thankfully I was convinced to stay, got the piece of paper, because now I always have that. I have my degree to my name, even though I would like to say I'm using it while I'm playing, or well, with playing. So I studied exercise science. I love science. I love the body. I love how it all moves together. But yeah, it's on pause for now, and that's okay. So it was time to leave America. It was time to decide, okay, what am I doing with my life? And essentially, I had 3 options. I had a few offers from clubs in Belgium and Germany. I could go back to Ireland, or I could have stayed in America, but I would have had to find someone to, give me a green card or something. Thankfully, we didn't. I was in chats with these clubs abroad, always knowing that, yeah, I wanted to get out of Ireland. You can always come home, but it's not always possible to go away. So I thought, okay, if I can go away now, let's do it. I've got my piece of paper. I can go and try this hockey thing. So I went back to Ireland for the summer, and then a very last minute call came in for a club in the Netherlands, Kampong. So I was there for 4 seasons. It was turbulent, to say the least. We had 6 head coaches in 4 years, I think that says enough. But in that, again, learned a lot, lost a lot, made a lot of memories, of friends, of experiences that have challenged and shaped me, that have shown me how I want to behave and act and how I don't want to behave and act. It's got me to another level, I think, with my hockey and myself, where I had to step back and evaluate for myself what I wanted. So that first year when you move abroad, it's fun, it's exciting, because you're like, oh my gosh. Well, yeah, if you move to a new country, you're still figuring everything out. You're figuring out where the good coffee spots are, where's the good places to go and eat, what do you do on a Friday night after training. It's so exciting. But then it gets to a point you're like, okay, what am I doing with my life? And I think we're all probably asking ourselves that. Totally fine though. Keep asking, because I feel like I'm just kind of mumbling or moseying along. But while I was doing that, I was still playing international. So I was still trying to be an athlete. I was still traveling. Even when I was in America, I was traveling back and forth for the national team, because that, as always, that was the goal. I wanted to be an international hockey player. And at this point I was. So I got my first cap whenever I was 18, as said. But then I was growing into it more and more. So I was getting more involved with the team. I was running for more tournaments, and I've been fortunate, touch wood, that I've been picked for every major tournament since I joined the team. There's a few where I didn't play just because of injuries and whatnot. I'm still fortunate to have currently so many caps under my name, and nothing of that I will ever take for granted. Playing for my country and pulling on that jersey it's a feeling like no one, apart from those who do it, will ever understand. So I'm in Holland again. I'm traveling left, right, and center. I'm like a gypsy of the skies, back and forth to Ireland for training. So I'd be in Dublin 3 days, Holland 4 days. It's just crazy. But then COVID hits. The damn COVID, the damn bat, or whatever it was. But we'll say the bat. And that was mad. But also, it was relief. We weren't allowed to go anywhere. We didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go back to training. And at this point, I needed it. I'd be going so constant, and everything that I did was just so focused on hockey. Like, literally everything. I don't want to say I missed out being a teenager, because, again, it's a choice I made. And it's a choice that I decided I wanted to go after this. I wanted to have this better life for myself. I wanted to get out of my hometown. I wanted to experience these things. Whenever you get a small taste of something that you really, really enjoy, or really gives you that like fuel or that fire, that's you want more of that. It's an addiction. You just want to keep going and make it work. So my hockey was really taking off, thankfully. But the world was slowing down. Like, we had really good success in 2018 at the World Cup in London, and I think that helped me personally kind of believe in myself. I was like, okay, this is actually something I can do. Know that it's something I want to do, but also allow other people to see that I was also something. I know in myself that I had talent and I did something. I wouldn't always say I was the best athlete at going after it, because I knew in myself everything had to come from me. And that's one of the things of being a kid in care. You don't have all those people around you handing you spoons, handing you life jackets, handing you support when you need it. And it just is what it is. Yes, there's people who want to see you do well. When it's 10 o'clock at night, you're dead with exhaustion. You know you still have stuff to do, or you have life to do, or you have to figure things out. Who do you call? And that was something I know I really struggled with, was that reaching out for help. And that also, until quite recently, was something I still struggle to do. Still do struggle to do. I'm getting better at it. But as an international athlete, most people think that you have it sussed, or you have the support around you, or you have, I don't say easy is the wrong word, but a lot of people, they see the good things. They see you going traveling, they see you jumping on a plane, they see you playing in tournaments abroad, everything. They see you at the highs. So I think from 2018, because we did really well. We had that silver at the World Cup. I was goalkeeper of the tournament. I was nominated for goalkeeper of the year. And people are like, whoa, this is amazing. But I'd say probably 3 people really knew what it took for me to get there, because, and they fully believed in me. Like, if it wasn't for it, there's a Arlene Boyle who is just, she's rocket fuel. But she is, again, another person in my life who I would not be here without. Nate Henderson, my goalie coach, again, I've told him as soon as he retires, I'm done. We're hoping that he stays on a little bit longer. But there's people like that who they fully believed in me, and they seen something in me that I didn't see in myself. I was and still am, I doubt myself a lot. I don't believe that I deserve the life I lead. I know that's a big thing to say, but I am in a very, very privileged position to, one, be sitting here with all this equipment around me, nattering along. I've traveled all over the world. I have a roof over my head. I have my life. I have my partner. I have my dog. Remy is a big one. If you don't know Remy, search Chasing Remy. I know that not everyone gets this, and I know that international sport isn't for everyone, but it's one thing that people have to understand is the resilience it needs to be a top international athlete. It just doesn't come to people. It's something you have to grasp for. It's something you have to work for. It's something that you have to drive within yourself. That I see now why many people who do play sports don't take that next step. Like, I know for me, genuinely at times, I'd be living, honestly, paycheck to paycheck. to literally have food, like a tin of beans at night. Like I would remember I was living in Belfast with Ruth. Sometimes she would go home and I'd be like, right, what is the cheapest meal I can survive on? Literally, like that's how crazy it was. So there's moments like that where I know that they have all added up together to allow me to persevere what it takes to become or to lead this life. And so a lot of people see now that like I have big sponsors, that I'm sponsored by Red Bull, I've got all my gear sponsored from Obo, that's all been handed to me, but it actually hasn't. Like when I say genuine blood, sweat and tears have went into that, and a lot of tape and a lot of other things, early morning trains, like that is literally what it takes. And I fully believe that if I didn't have my normal per se, or my life that I grew up with, that I wouldn't have played international hockey. I wouldn't have played it in Olympics. I wouldn't have over 100 caps for Ireland. I wouldn't be living in the Netherlands. I wouldn't have studied in America. Simple as that. Because that had to come from within me. And if I didn't have that resilience to step out and just do it for myself, to get away from whatever it was I was getting away from, that's what it takes. So as much as I wish I didn't have my life per se, I'm glad I did, because it allows me to have real value in what I do or what I have. I remember, like, I'm not that I'm quite an impulse spender or impulse doer with things. Like, I like excitement, but I am an impulse spender and an impulse doer. But it also comes from, I was the poor kid with nothing. I would remember getting a pair of trainers, and I always ruined my shoes, always, because I'd be out playing football in them. But then I wasn't allowed to get a new pair. Was not allowed. So then I had to just do them. But then they obviously got old, got scuffy, didn't look the nicest. And I was like, Mom, I want a new pair. And she was like, no. But now I know, because I know now that I've worked so hard to have what I have, that I know I can enjoy. Like, if I get a new pair of shoes, I will still probably ruin them, because I have a dog and my dog has friends, and my dog's friends like to step on my shoes. So they'll probably be ruined. But I value and I appreciate everything that I have myself. And I know that there's definitely people who have judged me for or whatever, or like putting something on social. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like, I don't care anymore. And I think that's also something you learn from being an international athlete, is the life choices you have to make and sacrificing a lot. It's like, I've missed so many weddings, birthdays, everything, because for me, my dream and still dream is to win a medal at the Olympics. The end. And I'm not afraid to say it. It's simple. I want that gold medal. And I know I have enough drive to keep pushing myself to get that. So I understand what it takes. And thankfully, I have good people around me that also understand that. So all my friends, girls whose weddings I've missed, like I missed one of my best friend's wedding because I had training the next day. Like, that in itself, I look back at and I'm like, that's mad. That's a bit mad. It also does get to a point whenever you're older that you have to start choosing for yourself. But at that moment, like, I was choosing hockey for myself, and my friends also, they understood that. They understood it was for me, and it's what got me to where I am. But like everything, sport comes with the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. So I went from the highest of high of, we had a really good couple of years with the team where we qualified for the World Cup after I had a yellow card and get subbed up, or got benched. That was tough. But anyway, so we qualified for the World Cup, went to the World Cup as the second lowest ranked team, won a silver medal, had a lot of personal success that following year, finished out my degree. Again, these are all huge tick boxes in my life. And then it went into qualifying for the Tokyo Olympics. COVID hits, but I was not in a good place. Like, really, it was tough. I remember there'd be times where, like, at this point I'm living in Holland and I have no interest in doing it. I've been, I think, 6 or 7 years on the trot, just hockey. And I think it just took its toll, and things were building up, and I hadn't dealt with a lot of problems or traumas from my youth. But still, you just put it in boxes. And you're just like, oh, I'll deal with that later. Don't have time to open that one now. Don't have time to figure that one out or delve into that trauma or whatever. But this typical, I don't want to say it's typical Irish, bury your head in the sand, but it is in a way. I put it all on hold because we just qualified for the Olympics. But then doesn't the Olympics get delayed a year? So on one hand, it's like COVID was an absolute blessing for me But on the other hand, it was like the worst thing ever, because when Tokyo actually comes around, so it's a year later, I couldn't have been in a worse place. Like, still to this day, I say I did not enjoy Tokyo. The best time I had at Tokyo was when we get put out of the tournament and we were out in the grass and I was drinking and I was partying and I was up all night, eating what I wanted, doing what I wanted, and I just wanted to feel numb. And that's what I did. I think hockey-wise I played quite okay, but I felt numb. I had no enjoyment of it. I was so focused. And I think a lot of athletes have the same, where you maybe build up the Olympics to be this huge pinnacle of your sport, and it is, don't get me wrong, because I've seen what it can be. But I was so numb to everything that was going on. I was coming back down. So I went from the highest of highs to really, really starting to hit some lows, but I wasn't ready to address it yet. So I just kept going on as usual, as life is normal, knowing that something wasn't right, but again, not willing to say or do anything about it. So continue with hockey, continue living my life as normal, per se, in Holland. But you can see cracks are appearing. People can see it in me, but no one, I don't know if people were scared to say it, but I also I am quite a dominant personality, or I come across quite dominant or confident or secure myself, but it's totally the opposite. Like, I want to be liked. I really fear that people have negative things to say about me, or if I don't know, if something's going on and I'm like the butt of the joke, or if I miss it, I get really insecure. So then I start to shut down, and this is not by any means on purpose, but I was shutting down more and more. So it got to the point we had the World Cup, our second World Cup we qualified for in Holland. That was 2022, so a year after the Olympics. When I say I must have been a miserable git to be around, because even whenever I think about it back, I bloody was. I was complaining about everything. I was just, nothing was ever right. I wasn't sleeping. I was barely eating. And like, I love my food. For those of you who know me, know I love my food, my snacks. Snacks are life. Snacks go with everything. My really close friends in the national team could see that something was wrong. And one of the girls, Dibble, very, very good friend of mine, and just amazing person. We were up in Jordanstown and we had a training camp, and I can't remember why I wasn't training, but I was with her and I just broke down, like on a hockey pitch, like what I would have said was my like safe place per se. I just broke down with everything. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't handle this. Like, I just had such high expectations of myself and of my life, and that nothing I ever felt was meeting it, or I wasn't liked enough, and I wasn't secure in myself, and I just wasn't happy. And it was at that point where she asked me if I would speak to someone, and then thankfully after when was it? It was after the World Cup. That was when it was like a pressure cooker just exploded. I had about 10 pressure cookers probably at this point. But it just went poo, 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 like, just really not good. And it was at that moment where I was like, I need help. I need to speak to someone. I can't do this on my own anymore. And I know I wasn't. Like, I had really good people around me. I had my partner around me. I had my team around me. My team in Holland were around me, even though it was a bit tough at times. But so I had really good people around me, but I also wasn't ready to ask for help yet. But then when the pressure cookers blow up, I was like, I can't get any worse than this. I can't handle this anymore. So I sat down with our team psych, and she, to this day, is an amazing, amazing woman. Just one, very skillful and talented at her job and what she does, but she just sees you as a person, and she just wants to make sure you're okay. And so I remember, like, bless her car, she had this old car, and I'd be sitting in it all the time, crying away. Some of the other girls in the national team will know exactly what I'm talking about. So I'd of course be sitting like chatting away to her, and then all of a sudden all this spew comes out. So then 1 minute I'm crying, the next minute I'm laughing, then I say nothing, then I'm saying everything, and then I'm crying again. And then she slowly hands over this like box of tissues and it's just like, just if you need them, and sets them like in the middle. Thankfully she's got a new car, but I still have to do my voodoo spirits on that car because it's hurt way too much. But from then on, so she helped and connected me with a clinical psychologist. So that was through the Sport Ireland Institute. And to this day, I would speak to him every week. Even if there's nothing to report, or even if it's yeah, like I was very open and honest with him because he made me feel safe. He made me feel wanted. He made me feel like it's okay to feel like this and understandable and just it's going to be a process. And he was very, I like that about it, about him. He was very honest. He wasn't spoofing me and saying, oh yeah, it'll be fine, it'll be easy, we'll figure it out, whatever, blah blah blah. He just, yeah, he gave me that honesty that I needed, that it was going to be hard but I could do it. So when he said that, I was like, right, okay, let's go. Well, not literally let's go, but like there's a few times where we felt like just closing the laptop because I would do it online with him, which for me it worked, but I know it's not for everyone. So now I'm still delving through my normal life, trying to deal with a lot of performance pressures and dealing with anxiety, dealing with depression. I've been connected with other people who are also in the same boat. I don't want to say it's part of international sport, but I think it's really important to talk about because more and more people are sharing their own stories with it and are sharing that they're also not in a good place, because a lot of the time people only see the good things. They only see the good snaps. They only see the good videos, the success, whatever. Part of it is also really, really dark, really hard. And that's the part that a lot of people are willing to brush under. Not even just in sport, literally in life. Everyone is just wanting to brush it under the rug, not to do anything about stuff, and just be like, oh, I'll be grand, it'll be okay in the morning. They don't want to address topics which are difficult to address. Another thing that a lot of people ask me is that because I've lived here, there, and everywhere, they're always like, oh, like, when are you going home? But for me, I wouldn't say like my home is in Ireland. Yes, it's a huge part of where the rest of my family live, my siblings live. But I always say my home is where I feel most comfortable. So for me, right now, it's in the Netherlands. It's with my partner. And probably most people who are listening probably already follow me, so know it's the Dutch goalkeeper, Anne Veenendaal, who is a gem in herself. Like I'd be lost without her. Like quite a few years together now. But we have a very important child. She is absolutely our child. Eyes identical to her mother's. But I've had people in the past, or even still, like ask me like, okay, what would I label myself? Like, am I gay? Am I straight? Am I bi? Whatever. And part of me is like, what is it to you? I don't feel the need to label myself. I always say if I have a connection with someone, I have a connection with someone. Simple as that. Or it's like, whatever, if something gives me attention, I'll take it. I understand. And it is a very important process for people that coming out can be such a big thing, or who they're with, or what they do with their lives. But I've also been, in that aspect, comfortable with myself because I didn't feel the need to label anything. And I have a very good life and a very good relationship with Anna. I think that she's a very good photographer, so that's why my Instagram feed has drastically improved since we've been together. So if you ever need a photographer, I know who you should go to. But that is me. That is who I am. And I think in most sense, I've always been true to that. Like I've never felt the need that I had to justify to people why I'm with Anna or why I'm with a girl or whatever. And people have accepted that for what it is. And for those people closest to me, I appreciate that. Shout out to Dib also, who kind of called it from the beginning. Back in Belgium in the Europeans, I think we're in the hotel together. But I'd be lost without Anna. She is my person, and we have the bestest dog in the world. Again, for everyone that knows her knows how amazing she is. She listens most of the time very well. And her name is Remy, and Remy is a border collie, and we love her. We all love her. But for most of you that probably know me, probably know I also have, the past few months, been plugging me Instagram with recovery. So I, again, was back playing. I took a step back from the national team just to try and work on myself a bit and just get security in myself. So I took a step out for a year, give or take a year. I had just come back and started playing with the national team. Played the Olympic qualifiers in January, had like a week off. On my third week back, I tore my knee. So we don't know what that's going to say, but there's probably a million things in the reason or why I did that. So I tore my MCL, making a routine save, just bam, gone. It was hanging on by threads. And So I was, again, really fortunate that I moved clubs. So I had a really good club in Tilburg that really supported me and just wanted me to recover and do well. I had an unbelievable sponsor in Red Bull that they have this location out in Austria, and it is sick. You drive past and you'd be like, oh, 2 log cabins, like, oh, there's nothing going on there. So it's this place called the APC, and every athlete's dream. So I went there and I had my full like functional rehab done there. I think I was there probably about 7 weeks in total. So in the Austrian mountains, sometimes it was like started in late March. So there was still snow at times, which was phenomenal. It was in a hotel, had food, just honestly a breath of fresh air. And I love getting out of the city. So I was there, give or take, for 7 weeks in about a 4-month period, doing all my rehab, just trying to get functional. So trying to take stairs, trying to move, trying to get full mobility back into it. Also coming back and forth to my life in Holland. Then it got to the point where I had to be transferred in a way. So I was then almost ready to go back to start doing like hockey specific rehab. But while I was in Austria, at one point I did this interview. I don't even know if you would call it an interview. It's like just a sit down chat. Like, so they call it Story Finder. And I was chatting to this lady, like she was so lovely, sitting in the hotel, and bless her, like it was the end of the day. I had probably about 3 Red Bulls in me and 4 coffees the whole day, because we had, like, when you're there, it's not like it's easy. I make it sound like, oh, it's a breeze going to Austria in the mountain rehab. No, you had like 3 or 4 sessions a day. You had 2 sessions of physio. You'd have probably a nutrition meeting, psych meeting, all this other stuff going on. Like, it was mayhem. It was like a full-time job. But like I say, it was every athlete's dream. So I had this interview with this lady, and again, just talking about my life, because at this point I've got more comfortable in myself and understanding what I went through and am going through. So I was chatting away to her, and apparently the right people heard that interview, because I was just chatting shite to her, is what I say. So then I got invited to do this content summit, and so I met really, really, really cool creative people there. So again, I still have that creative flair in me. I want to just chat and connect with people a bit more, and just understand that there's more going on in the world, and there's a lot more similarities in people than what we realize, or people going through different things and whatnot. So I was invited along, and I was part of a game. But then I also met a few people that were in the podcasting side, and I was like, sick, I love that. I was explaining my idea of how I want to just chat to people and share stories, and I think that that's how people connect and get more of an understanding and become more open. So here we are, sitting, chatting with a microphone, sharing stories. And a lot of you are probably like, okay, well, that was a spiel for however long this has been. But why I want to do it is because I think there's so many individuals with stories to be told that more people can relate to, that will open doors, open conversations, help society understand each other more and appreciate each other more. That is why I want to do it. And my goal for this is just to get everyone, well, I think it's very easy to throw out there and say, but just to get everyone to feel heard in a way. So for me, a big one is kids in care. And a big one for me is also going to be kids who have lost a parent because of cancer or whatever it is. That's a community that I understand, but it's not, unless you're in it, it's not a community you hear or you talk about or you appreciate what they bring and who they are. So that's why I'm doing this. That's why I've sat here, and that's why hopefully you're listening. But don't worry, because every week it's not going to be me. I am going to actually have other folk on as well who are also, or might know, probably a bit more interesting than me. Some people who I've lined up or plan to speak to have unreal stories. Like, seriously, they're the coolest ever. But you would never think it. And so I hope that what people take away from this is just the small stories along the way of how we're all more alike than we seem, of how everyone has a story to tell, and when they're ready or comfortable to tell it, it's worth telling. So take the time, gather your thoughts, sit down and just do it. Take that step, take the leap, and trust yourself, because if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, you have nothing to regret, because at least you tried. And with that, I say, folks, thanks for listening. Appreciate y'all listen to me probably ramble on at some point, but hopefully you can take something. If you liked what you heard, make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share, all of the above, this so that we can hopefully get more conversations happening, more awareness, and more people on Unboxed that we want to follow. So thanks for following Unboxed. See you next time.